Welcome to Jamaica Magazine, your one-stop guide to information on government's programs, policies and initiatives. We are a little over a month into the hurricane season and still very much focused on preparedness measures. So today we are sharing vital information with our livestock farmers on how to safeguard their animals before and after a storm. Then we highlight the digital revolution in healthcare, the new electronic health records system that is putting patient information at the fingertips of caregivers. The details coming up right after the news of the day. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome.
The past has shaped us, but the future, it's powered by connection. For 20 years, the Universal Service Fund has been bridging the digital divide, with over 400 public Wi-Fi hotspots lighting up verandas, homes and hopes. From classrooms to communities, USF powers access to opportunity, helping youth dream bigger, learn smarter, earn online, and helping families stay close, even from far away. One mission, 2 decades, thousands of lives transformed. Connected at 20, committed for a lifetime. The Universal Service Fund, connecting you to more.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, July 10, 2025. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness is calling for deeper trade and economic collaboration between Jamaica and, by extension, CARICOM and the African continent. This, he emphasizes, will unlock the vast opportunities rooted in their shared heritage and expand global influence. Dr. Holness made the call while addressing the Africa-Caribbean Symposium and commissioning of the African Village at the Half Moon Hotel in St. James on Tuesday. Prime Minister Holness, who chairs CARICOM, insists that the Caribbean community's strategic trade routes and strong cultural and tourism links to major global markets makes the region an ideal partner for Africa's expanding economies.
Africa is home to over 1.5 billion people, with a combined GDP estimated at US $2.8 trillion. 11 of the world's 20 fastest growing economies in 2025 are in Africa, and real GDP growth in 21 African countries is projected to exceed 5% in 2025, with 4 of those countries projected to reach as high as 7%. Our trade with Africa, while growing, remains below 1% of CARICOM's total global trade, and below 0.1% of Africa's total trade volume, signaling that there is a vast untapped opportunity for us to explore and pursue.
As the newly elected chair of CARICOM, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has pledged to intensify efforts to ensure Haiti's deepening crisis remains at the forefront of global attention. Since the assassination of President Jovenel Moise in July 2021, gangs have expanded their power, with criminal groups now controlling much of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and key regions. Speaking at a high-level private sector leadership breakfast with CARICOM heads in Montego Bay, Dr. Holness stressed that regional security hinged on restoring stability in Haiti.
A secure Haiti is essential to a secure Caribbean. I believe that we can have an impact, a positive impact on resolving the situation in Haiti. But more than that, the situation that gangs have taken over a state is not a good example for this region. And the longer it stays in that state, the longer it will be a threat for all states in this region.
Prime Minister Holness is also urging the private sector to view Haiti not only as a crisis, but as a market with untapped potential.
It should also be mentioned, as I am speaking to the private sector, Haiti is a tremendous opportunity waiting to be discovered. It is an incredible market, people with incredible talent and resources. And if we could assist our brothers and sisters in Haiti to settle the issues, strengthen the state, the region as a whole would benefit economically.
Meanwhile, member of Haiti's Transitional Presidential Council, Laurent Saint-Cyr, has commended CARICOM leaders for prioritizing the country's security crisis during the 49th meeting of heads of government. He also acknowledged the unified stance in support of Haiti under the leadership of CARICOM Chairman, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
Haiti today needs the region to speak with one voice in defense of security, peace, and sustainable development. I thank the countries that have already contributed personnel to the MSS and those offering training in support of our national security force.
Jamaica had sent a contingent of security personnel to Haiti as part of a United Nations-backed mission to address the ongoing crisis. This deployment followed discussions within CARICOM and with international partners. Mr. Saint-Cyr called on each sister nation to continue contributing to the restoration of peace and security through various means, including investments, training, logistical support, financial assistance, and technical support.
We are also counting on you to intensify advocacy with other regional and global partners for increased support toward more rigorous regional cooperation in controlling the illicit flow of arms and ammunition and combating drug trafficking.
He reaffirmed his commitment to steering Haiti through its transitional period. There is strong regional backing for Jamaica's move to submit a formal petition to King Charles III seeking a landmark ruling from the Privy Council on the legality of slavery and Britain's obligation to provide reparations. Prime Minister and Chair of CARICOM, Dr. Andrew Holness, gave the update during a statement at the closing press conference of the 49th regular meeting of heads of government on Tuesday. The petition seeks a legal ruling on whether the Atlantic enslavement of Africans was legal under common law, whether local laws supporting it were invalid, and whether slavery, as practiced in Jamaica up to 1838, constituted a crime against humanity under international law.
And whether, if so, the United Kingdom bears a legal obligation to provide reparations to Jamaica and its people for the enduring harm caused. Through the use of this legal route to challenge the historical legality of slavery and assert claims for reparations, this petition will mark a watershed moment for CARICOM and the broader global movement for reparatory justice.
The announcement aligns with ongoing efforts by Jamaica's National Council on Reparations, which has been active in developing legal and policy approaches to address the legacy of slavery. In addition, the CARICOM Reparations Commission, established in 2013, has continued to advocate for reparatory justice from former colonial powers. Dr. Holness's remarks reaffirm Jamaica's intention to seek accountability through international legal mechanisms, reflecting the country's long-standing commitment to reparations as a moral and legal imperative. And finally, a contract has been signed and ground broken for construction of a new outpatient department at the Maypen Hospital in Clarendon at a cost of $642 million. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton was on hand for the contract signing and groundbreaking ceremony last Friday. He says the new, much larger facility, spanning an area of 20,000 square feet, will provide additional and better services for patients.
It means more services that, in some instances, services that the people of Maypen may, in the past or currently, would have to travel to Kingston for. You can get it right here, or you will be able to get it right here in your parish. That has all sorts of benefits that we all should be proud of. And that in and of itself represents the transformation that is necessary.
The new outpatient facility will support services including general consultation, specialist clinics, cardiology, phlebotomy, and minor procedures that are currently accessed at the Accident and Emergency Department. Minister Tufton says the new construction will free up some additional space in the original building, which can be converted to provide more bed space. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Living in a systematic adjudication area, it's time to secure what's yours. The National Land Agency is distributing titles under its Systematic Land Registration Program. Persons in St. Elizabeth and Manchester visit the Junction Guest House in St. Elizabeth to collect your title. In St. Catherine, we're coming to you house to house. To collect your title, bring your government-issued photo ID. If someone is collecting on your behalf, they should bring a JP certified letter and their government-issued photo ID. For more information, call 876-750-5263 or visit nla.gov.jm. One agency, one goal, committed to serve you better.
As the hurricane season looms across our landscape, the focus isn't just on securing homes. It's also about safeguarding our agriculture sector, livestock to be more specific. So today we're sharing critical prevention measures for our farmers that will ensure resilience and the continuity of our food supply come rain or shine.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the show that gives you information on the latest topics. I'm Theodore Henry. In our last episode, we explored how crop farmers can prepare for the hurricane season. And today, we'll be shifting our focus to livestock farmers and similarly explore how they can get ready to weather the storm season. Joining us is Maxine Brown, Senior Livestock Specialist from the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA. Welcome to Get the Facts, Lady Brown.
Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be able to share critical information with our livestock farmers to secure their livelihood.
Well, let's get to sharing some of that critical information. Now, how do you prepare livestock for a storm?
Okay, so the first thing that farmers want to do when they hear that we're having a storm or hurricane, whatever disaster is, impending, right, is that you want to check on your animals because the animals are your livelihood. Mm-hmm. So you want to do an assessment of them. You want to make sure they are tagged, because should in case they get loose, you can have information, and also because you'll be documenting information on your animals. Yeah. You want to know how many vulnerable animals you have, because you may have some younger animals that may need particular attention. You want to see which animals are your prized animals, so you want to make sure you have data on them. Right. You also sometimes some persons take pictures of them if they don't have any tags to tag them. There are some temporary markers that you can use to mark them, just in case they may get loose, and also you want to have information on them. Right. And if you have your information that is digital, you want to store that information, you want to back it up in the cloud or have extra copies of it. Right. So you just want to make sure that your animals are in the best health before the storm occurs. You also want to have a first aid kit on hand, because what you want to do, you want to make sure that after the hurricane and you're assessing your animals, if you see any cuts, any bruises, etc., you can treat it right away so that you do not have problems with screwworm or sometimes pneumonia might try to set in. So you want to have the medication for the animals. You have some animals that may be on medication. You want to get extra. So some animals, you may have had the vet had assessed them and they're on antibiotics. Mm-hmm. So you may want to get extra antibiotics because you don't know what will happen after a storm.
Blocked, this
exactly.
Happen,
so a first aid kit is critical for every farmer to make sure that your animals can bounce back as quickly as possible. So after you have assessed your animals and you have done the necessary documentation of your animals, you also now want to check the infrastructure, because you want to make sure that their housing, their accommodation is also sturdy enough to withstand the storm.
Well, what happens? Sorry, let me jump in here. What happens if, for example, you're in a sort of lower place? Should you make
plans to evacuate at the time if you see flooding, or should you just get them out even before the storm?
So that is critical. You try to get them out before the flooding, because remember, if a flooding is occurring, you don't want to be out there as well at that time.
Sure.
So that is why you have to have a plan for your farm in terms of your evacuation plan. So for animals that you use to tie in low-lying areas, some persons used to love tie their animals near to rivers, etc. You want to move them to a higher elevation. For animals that you have in structure, you want to check the structure. So for your poultry farmers, you want to make sure that there are no loose zinc. You want to make sure that you have the enough tarpaulin to really to secure to cover the mesh,
Right,
because
wind will be blowing.
exactly, wind and rain will be blowing in. For the small ruminant farmers like your sheep and goat farmers, you also want to check your structures, because you don't want zinc flying and probably cutting the animals, etc. So you want to secure your infrastructure. Persons can use hurricane straps now to secure the roof as best as possible. I see some persons, and because they were late in the game in terms of security, they may have to be using building blocks.
Yeah, on the
top
tops,
of the roof, just like
Which
what they
is
do
a
in their
hazard.
house. Exactly, because it too can, blow off and cause problems. So you want to secure your facility. You also want to store extra feed and extra water for your animals.
Right.
Because you do not know when you'll be getting access to water if there's anything that is happening. So you have your tank, make sure you store water, make sure you store extra feed, but take precaution to secure the feed, because you don't want the feed to get wet.
Right.
If it get wet, it can get moldy, and it can cause problems with your animals as well. And you want to secure it from rodents. So make sure that it's secured properly. If you have your generator, make sure your generator is up and running, because
service.
exactly, you want to make sure that you can still continue production after the hurricane. You also want to make sure that the animals, whatever implements you have that you use to work with them, your husbandry, the tools that you use for your husbandry practices, like your hoof trimmers, etc. Your milking cans for dairy farmers, you want to take those out and to secure them elsewhere.
I need to ask something right here, though. You mentioned ruminants, you mentioned birds. Are there any animals that are particularly vulnerable during a storm?
So the animals that are really vulnerable are especially poultry, because you really cannot move them from their location.
Yeah.
We have the tunnel house operators, and their structure is fairly sturdy. And so for the other operators, the other backyard operators, which is why I was indicating you have to use your hurricane straps, use your tarps to prevent things from blowing in. I know sometimes we have the very small farmers who sometimes will take up their chickens, and you'll see stories how they spread newspaper in the bathroom, and that is where they carry them.
Right.
Because sometimes they have the day-old chicks as well, or probably chicks that are just 2 weeks old. And the quantities that they have is sufficient for them to can store it in a room, or, like I said, they said sometimes even in the bathroom they carry it to secure it. Because remember, after the hurricane, this is what is going to help you to bounce back. That is your livelihood.
Right.
So these animals are especially vulnerable. Other vulnerable animals may include like animals that are pregnant, and for the very young animals. And so, which is why it's critical to say, even after the hurricane, you have to be monitoring these animals, because sometimes the impact is not seen immediately. It's not that they are drowned or probably they got any large laceration, any big cuts that you couldn't treat. It may be now pneumonia that is starting to set in. We have what they call hoof rot, because if they're standing in water for too long, then it gets soft, then they start to have foot issues. So these are some of the things that we have to pay attention to. So the pregnant animals, the younger animals, and even sometimes your older animals too.
Hurricane straps help keep your roof secure during heavy winds. Strap is advice. Make sure your home is secure. Strap down your roofs to withstand the wailing winds of hurricanes and other major storms. Don't wait until it's too late.
It's a very simple thing. It is inexpensive, and it doesn't require much technical know-how to do it.
Strap down your roof now. Save yourself a world of hurt later.
Imagine instant access to your complete health history, empowering faster, safer care. That's the transformation taking place within our healthcare sector with the strategic implementation of the electronic health record system, a digital leap towards a more efficient and connected patient experience.
The digital transformation of Jamaica's public health sector is progressing, and a key component is the implementation of an electronic health record EHR system.
Electronic health record system, System 1, or SI for short. When the patient comes for registration process, we would input the data on S1, and then this data will come around to wherever the doctor is or the nurse is. So they do not need to be waiting on health records to go and retrieve the paper record to bring to them. And if the patient comes with any investigation with the blood results, X-ray, any form of laboratory results or any external result, we would upload those at the time of registration. So when they come to the doctor and the nurse, the information is readily available.
Doctors will be able to see diagnostic scans on their computers and tablets remotely.
Right, and it also allows multiple persons to be retrieving the data simultaneously, or we can do data entry simultaneously.
You can actually measure time from arrival to time of triage, and thereafter every interaction with every member of staff is actually timed. So it is good for tracking, whereas the previous system, if the doctor or the nurse never actually wrote the time that they were seeing, it doesn't get tracked as easily.
It's a shift from paper-based health records management that is allowing improved patient care coordination, enhanced data accuracy, and better decision-making by medical personnel.
The names come up on the system, and as they are seen, there's a color change, so you know which one is seen by the nurse, which one is already seen by the doctor, which one is discharged. So each one of those, if there's no color change, you know that person has not yet been seen. So in terms of efficiency, that's excellent.
The EHR is being implemented by the Ministry of Health as part of the Health Systems Strengthening Project, valued at over $5 million. The EHR allows for not just patient registration, but also appointment scheduling and patient assignment in the triage process.
I know that for the outpatients department, definitely throughput is much faster, and the chance of people getting missed or neglected in the clinic is almost nil now.
The system, which is intended to go island-wide, is being initially rolled out in 13 health facilities over an 18-month period. Maypen Hospital was the first to operationalize the electronic health record system.
The reason why we were the first, I think, is because we were the most ready to receive and accept such a new system.
The first phase rollout will also include the Chapelton, Spanish Town, and St. Anne's Bay hospitals, as well as the Maypen West, Maypen East, and St. Jago health centers.
A patient arrived in the accident and emergency department and wasn't able to give adequate information. This patient was just being treated next door by the St. Jago Park Health Center, and we were able to pull up that information and to continue care. And so we are at a good place in public health. We are exciting, and I'm sure that the patient will get timely medical care.
As a nurse in charge of the labor ward, for me, I have my 24-hour reports on a daily basis, and I am able to get the information at the end of the day for each client. Easy accessible, one click away.
The island-wide rollout will network more than 2,000 computers and 400-plus medical-grade tablets that provide universal access to medical records. The electronic health record platform is based on the philosophy of one patient, one record, and is part of the plan for improving efficiency in access to medical services.
And what that means is that whatever data that is inputted concerning the patient when they come to see a doctor at a health center or hospital in this case, that data is pulled up based on their unique identification number. And you immediately know the history of the patient and therefore all the factors that may influence a treatment regime in a much quicker way.
With EHR, there is no challenge with locating your health records, and so care is timely and on point.
Data for the EHR is stored securely on multiple servers, and only authorized persons are allowed access.
The confidentiality of the patient's record is actually critical. So it's not like anybody can get anybody's record at any time. There has to be special permission from the medical records department to actually release the notes, and then that's the only way we can access it.
The system is expected to accrue significant savings of time and cost on tests that won't have to be repeated. The data generated will also assist in the formulation of better evidence-based policy making and program design by the government.
Regarding the staff, if you ask any of them if they want to go back to the paper system, you get a resounding no. They do not want to go back to the paper system.
According to the Jamaica Public Service Company, the average cost of electricity is $65 per kilowatt hour. A refrigerator is essential in every household, but what's the cost of keeping it plugged in all day? For a 15 to 18 cubic foot inverter refrigerator running 24 hours a day, that's 64 kilowatt hours per month, which adds up to $3,900 on your light bill. Now, compare that to a regular 18 cubic foot refrigerator. It consumes about 86 kilowatt hours, costing you $5,590 monthly. Got a bigger fridge? A 26 cubic foot inverter model uses up to 108 kilowatt hours, costing $7,020 each month just to keep it cool. Just a tip, always check the energy rating before you buy. Inverter models save more in the long run.
Juicy, buy a juice from me, no?
But wait, do you have a permit? Whether you're running a restaurant, baking gizadas at home, or selling juice on the corner, if you handle food in a affiliated country, you need a food handler's permit. It's the law, and it applies to anyone preparing, serving, transporting, or dealing with food.
It means that you would be in conformance with the public health food handling regulations, and so it is important that persons make their application so that they can get the requisite training in an effort to ensure that the foods that are offered to the public are safe, wholesome, and free from any form of contamination.
Don't take chances. Get certified, stay compliant, and apply today.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Do join us again tomorrow when we'll bring you another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, gis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at gis.gov.jm or via X at JIS News. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Walk good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.